Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the Offload Delay podcast, a podcast not only for first responders, but today, especially for first responders. Privileged today, really privileged to be able to announce a new partnership with a fantastic team, a fantastic couple of individuals that I've had the privilege to meet since starting the pod, but I've known about for quite a while due to their tremendous success and tremendous business that they've endured, created, and brought forward to us as responders. I'm talking about these guys right here. A lot of you may have seen them, maybe some of you haven't. Hashtag I've got your back 911. That is their tag. They also have I've got your back 911.com, and we're going to talk a lot more about that in this show. In fact, they're both responders. Two responders came up with this idea, or at least delivered the idea in 2014 to start an awareness campaign about suicide and mental health issues in us first responders. And by first responders, I love the way they encompass a large group. They talk about police, fire, ambulance, telecommunications, which is our radio operators, our dispatchers who are taking these calls and trying to get us to them for you, nurses, corrections, military. It's all encompassing, and I love that. These individuals are doing such a great job raising awareness by selling fantastic merchandise as well. What they're doing is they've come up with a great line of clothing, really, really nice stuff, as well as decals, stickers. They have some challenge coins, duffel bags. They've got a fantastic website. And the good news is this stuff is available for everybody to purchase, not just us responders. The money is diverted straight back into mental health and PTSD related issues, related causes, related resources for all first responders. They also have a fantastic charitable, what are we going to call it on this one? A trust, the charitable trust fund, where you can actually donate on their website or through them without even going through the merch route. But the merch has become really successful and it's really attractive stuff. I'm going to bring the two individuals in here shortly. They are two medics. They are one of us, which is fantastic. They're in the trenches and they've developed this business through the working years of their employment on the road as frontline responders. And that's just admirable as all get out. So first and foremost, I'm going to bring in one of the partners here. This is Jill. Hello, Jill.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast. So good to have you on. So good to be able to form a partnership with you guys and to bring your message forward. And you've worked in close relations with another individual. We have Sean waiting in the wings here, and here's Sean now. Hello, Sean. Welcome to the pod. Thanks for coming on. Pleasure to have both of you on board to tell your story, to tell your side, to tell your vision, how this all came about, as well as your own first responder related issues you may be dealing with. So what I want to do right now, Jill, is just I'm gonna focus on you for a bit. We're gonna give you the screen here just to kind of introduce yourself, how long you've been doing what you've been doing, and what drove you, what kind of inspired you 7 years ago now. 7 years, congratulations, by the way. You just celebrated your business anniversary, correct, guys?
That's right.
7-year anniversary within the last month. So kudos to you. You're a tough bunch to get a hold of. We're all responders, so trying to arrange shift workers' schedules as well as business owners and podcasters. It's been a battle, but I really wanted to get you on early to show the support that we're getting from you and that you're giving others for the rest of this pod. So Jill, why don't you tell us a little bit how this hashtag, this I've got your back 911.com came about, and then we're gonna bring you in with Sean here shortly.
in 2014. Well, first of all, Sean and I went to school together. We went to paramedic school together, and then we ended up both working for the same service. In 2014, there just seemed to be almost like suicide after suicide after suicide happening within the field, whether it was police, fire, EMS. And it just seemed like nobody was really addressing the issue or talking about it. So we came up with this idea. It started out basically just as a Facebook page and a hashtag. We launched it, I think, like September 30th, maybe 2014. So it would drop on October 1st. And yeah, we came up with a hashtag. I've got your back 911. It was just kind of like something that we felt on difficult calls or stuff at work that we would say to each other, minus the 911. But like I've got your back, like I'll cover you or whatever. So it all started out with a hashtag. We were encouraging people to take pictures with like a cardboard hashtag kind of cut out and spread it around social media to kind of get the word out. And then, we went to bed that night and then woke up the next morning, and it was like, it was kind of shocking to see that, the initial picture we had, it kind of spread all over social media. And, lots of friends and colleagues had all changed their profile pictures to the hashtag. So, that showed us that there was a real need for some conversation. And we initially just started it to spark a conversation and make it okay to talk about mental health stuff within the community, because I mean, at the time it's still difficult, but at the time it seemed like it wasn't really getting addressed at all. So
Excellent.
so we set up a Facebook, we set up an Instagram, we set up a Twitter, and from there all of the social media stuff kind of just like blew up, to be honest.
And what led to the merch? How'd you get this merchandise involved? We're gonna bring Sean in really soon to fill us in on
Yeah.
some more,
So
but I know a big success for you has been the high-end merch. It's been a sought-after item by responders
yeah,
and non-responders alike.
I mean, the merch, it started out pretty basic. Sean and I just took, like our own personal money and had these black t-shirts made just with a hashtag across the front. We handed them all out. I remember we went over to London CAC. We handed out a bunch of t-shirts to them, just tried to spread them around like the local community. And then we thought, well, we might be onto something here. Let's do some fundraising. So we were doing some fundraising through the online campaign, like company out of the US called Spring. So those were kind of the first kind of, like garments that we did, hoodies that we did, and then Sean and I just decided that we kind of wanted more control over it. So we decided to take a house, and that's where things just kind of like it's been an interesting ride. Just really kind of learning and teaching ourselves how to essentially like run a garments business, I guess you could say. So,
No doubt. Now,
yeah,
Sean, you were involved at this point too, correct? It wasn't all just Jill? You
no,
met in school together, you, decided you ultimately ended up working in the same service, and that was 10 years ago, and 7 years ago, you came up with this idea. So what triggered you to roll this together? What allowed you 2 to pair up specifically? We meet so many people in our line of work, but
Well,
what
it's
was
kind of
it
funny.
about Jill?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because when we were in school, there was a group of us, a small group of 5 or 6 of us that basically, when it came time to doing clinicals, studying, doing scenarios, all this, those sort of things, we all got together, the same group all the time. I ended up, obviously getting pretty close with all those people, Jill being one of them, and we were both from this area. I grew up in Mount Bridges, just outside of London, and I was living in London at the time. She was living in St. Thomas, so everybody else from that group was in Hamilton area. So we were the only ones really out and about here. And then the fact that when we started working for the same service, it was just one of those things where we just constantly had conversation, and we were chatting, and we sat down one night and we just kind of threw this idea out at each other, and it was like, wow, you know what? Who knows what it could do or not do? Or, we had no idea that it was going to turn into this, but, it was basically, writing some stuff on some bar napkins and, do a search on our phones to see if anything came up in the search. And every time that something did, we would change directions and go with something else. And even when we put in "I've got your back," there was some sites that came up, and then we added the 911, and nothing. Like, that's it. So right from there, we just kind of went with it. But we both, thought the exact same thing. It was like multiple times a week, you were hearing of first responders dying by suicide. And again, like Jill said, nobody was allowed to talk about it. Nobody was allowed to really, admit that it was happening. Everybody knew it was happening, but nobody wanted to admit that it was happening.
I've had the unfortunate experience of having to deal with that with a direct shift mate on the job, suicide, work related, family related, the whole stress related to this line of work. And I'm super appreciative of what initiatives you brought forward. And I know it's just rolling, and it's showing the need, the interest for everybody to get involved with this important message that you're delivering. You also have some grants, is that right? You have some memorial grants?
We're in the process of basically how things kind of work with us is, typically we sell the merch, and we either take the funds from the merch, kick it into our charitable trust, and then that gets basically kicked back out to the community, whoever needs it, or we donate money directly. So often if there's a tragedy or something across Canada, we'll sometimes step up and do like a fundraising campaign, and then take that money and dedicate it to something in that area for people to access. So what was the most recent one we did, Sean? I think for the officer out west, out east.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've done multiple, like, unfortunately, it's one of those things where we kind of step up when something big happens, like the tragedy out in Halifax. And we stepped up, and we brought in a special hoodie. And we were very fortunate to have the support of all of our supporters. And we sold like 1,000 of those hoodies in a matter of about 3.5 minutes, which enabled us to be able to kick in a big chunk of money over to Wounded Warriors Canada. And they were running some special programs out there for the first responders and their the kids out there, as well as the spouses of some of the first responders that had died during that scene. So it's one of those things where, yeah, that's the hoodie right there that caused a big stir for sure. And,
Yeah.
Beautiful piece.
Yeah.
No, I don't even want to talk about that hoodie.
Okay.
That hoodie caused us a lot of grief. Like oh man, we. I'll just talk about it for a minute. We do a lot of stuff in house, and often we'll limit quantities because because we can only handle so much. But we kind of partnered with a local company that made some promises to us they could produce a lot of those hoodies quite quickly, and so we made it like fair game for everyone, and ended up selling, like Sean said, like 1,000 hoodies very quickly, and then stuff kind of fell through with this other company. So we just it was a lot. We ended up spending our long weekend at their warehouse, like fulfilling these hoodies, and some of them didn't come out as they should have. So we were kicking out like extra hoodies for people, or refunding money or whatever. But the money from that hoodie specifically, a lot of it went into purchasing PPE at the beginning of the pandemic for first responders when there was like that huge scare of like shortage. So what we did was we took money from that and purchased PPE, and then kind of like divvied it out across Southwest Ontario. So.
Your reach is so admirable. How many venues, how many people are receiving the benefits from your hard work? Now, what I'm getting from this hoodie story is it's not all fun and games running a business while you're trying to be a professional and run a career on the side. And Jill, you explained to me in a talk before we got on the air that this started in a storage locker. You guys had a press machine in a storage locker, is that right?
Yeah, yes.
Like while you were
Yeah,
off duty?
yeah, like, I live in an apartment here in St. Thomas, and we have this, big basement underground, and I have this chain link storage locker, and, we had a heat press down there and a vinyl cutter, and we probably weren't supposed to be down there, like, according to code or whatever, but, like, Sean and I would be down there, heat press plugged in, weeding and pressing stuff, and then there's a Canada Post down the street.
Tarps up over top of the wire for the storage locker, so nobody could see what we were doing in there, and we would literally spend hours in there just pressing hoodies and t-shirts and anything else that we were selling so that we could turn around and send them back out, and then we would take them all upstairs, and we would have literally hundreds of packages sitting on the floor, bagging them up so that we could then walk over to Canada Post and spend a couple hours over at Canada Post waiting for them to process all the orders so that we could get them out, and then we would do the exact same thing the next day. And it was actually working okay because at that time Jill and I a lot of times were on separate schedules, so we weren't working the same shifts. So while I was at work, she was in there pressing. Well, she was at work, I was in there pressing, and then we would both go in at night sometimes and spend 3 or 4 hours in this little storage locker just weeding and pressing. And yeah, it
I'm not
was.
hearing a whole lot of sleep in here. I'm not hearing a
Yeah.
whole lot of sleep. Yeah.
Well, I
Imagine.
told you earlier, I make a joke that I haven't slept since 2014, and like that there's some truth to that. And Sean knows.
Yeah.
Sean knows. He's always like, Jill, you need to go to bed.
Our line of work is bad enough for sleep issues, let alone running a
Yeah.
business on top of it. And now you're at how many people? How many people do you have working now? What's the company doing?
We have 10.
10 people. So you've grown to an actual full-fledged employer setup. And are you able to keep up? Are you guys getting inundated still?
Yeah, I think we manage fairly well. Obviously, we have different times throughout the course of the year that are busier than others. Bell Let's Talk Day is usually an absolutely insane time for us, and it usually takes us about a week or so to get caught up from that. And then obviously Christmas time is absolutely crazy for us as well, and then whatever campaigns we're running, with some special limited time garments throughout the course of the year, depends on what's going on and what we're offering and how many we have. So, sometimes we can only get a certain amount of things from our suppliers. And, if that means we've got 200 hoodies, they tend to go fairly quickly. And because, it's kind of like Costco, right? If you don't get it then and there, then it's not going to be there when you go to want it.
But you got to create that. You're creating that
Mhm.
niche. You're creating that.
Yeah.
You got to get that limited edition, and it's fantastic. Your stuff is just. I see it all over the place. You were mentioning you've had people ask you around the world. You're getting comments on your merch, or you're getting pictures of people showing you wearing their stuff everywhere. And it's such a great message to get out. You mentioned Bell Let's Talk. I assume this is Michael Landsberg, TSN, correct? I
Yeah.
assume that he's a big spokesperson for that venue, and I'm guessing, is that part of what led you to meet Michael? Is that
That
what
was
that
at
picture was?
Yeah, that was at a charity event that our friend Natalie Harris did. She was a paramedic as well, and basically retired early due to post-traumatic stress diagnosis. She was doing some fundraising stuff up in Barrie, and that was kind of like a charity event we went to. Michael Landsberg was a special guest there. He has an organization called Sick Not Weak. And he does a lot of work for the community as well. So that's
I think
what that was.
Natalie wrote a book, did she not? I believe our employer at one point gave us all
Yeah.
that book on Paramedic Week about mental health with responders and looking out for
Yeah,
yourself.
she did.
That's
It was
a whole
called-
nother. Yeah, she's an advocate, a fantastic
Yeah.
person to have on board. So my
Yeah.
question, I have some questions for each of you though. While it's easy enough for us to sit back and the purpose of this pod is to try and give an insight into our world. Like you have your business world and you're doing a lot of great it's an understatement, kicking it back to us as responders. But you yourself have traumas and mental baggage to deal with while you're trying to help other deal with theirs. And I'm gonna go to Sean to start. Sean had mentioned something that's very, very close to my experience, and that is being left in the cold sometimes by these employers, and their support network isn't always what it seems and what they advertise. I know you mentioned that you haven't once been reached out to by an employer in your 10 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, not once. So the hundreds and hundreds or thousands of calls that I've been involved in, and some of horrific nature, I personally have never been asked if I wanted to go home or if I needed to go home. I've never been asked to go into a debrief by our service. It's Yeah, no, it's nothing that that's ever been offered to me personally. I know that others have in certain situations, but as far as myself and 10 years on the road, I'm sure you can attest to this, Brad. You see some horrible stuff, and you have to do some absolutely gut wrenching stuff out there on the road in order to do your job. So
You do, and you and I know that a lot of the interest into our world is some of those details, some of those calls. Do you have an example of, like, one of those days that you just it's hard to explain to somebody that's not in it how the lack of respect or the lack of response
oh
by the
yeah,
employer is hard to comprehend?
I think along with all first responders, there's a certain amount of calls that you can recall probably minute by minute, second by second. You can probably smell some of the smells that were on the scene, but just one call in particular. It's, I don't know, probably about midnight, and it was a two-car MVC where there was one occupant in each vehicle, and they hit head on. We were the first truck on scene, and basically the one car had already caught on fire with the driver was already still in the vehicle. Myself and my partner, we approached the vehicle with our fire extinguishers that we had out of the ambulance, and obviously we couldn't even get close enough to the car because of the heat. Fire wasn't on scene yet, and we literally, we had to watch that person actually burn. And then from there, we needed to, you know, obviously change our focus to the other person that was in the other vehicle. And he was trapped, and it took us over an hour to get him out of that vehicle. Once we did, Orange was nice enough to meet us at the airport. We rendezvoused them to the scene, and they took the patient from there. And the patient did end up going VSA just as they were doing final approach at the hospital in London. But literally, I didn't even get done my paperwork for that call, and we had another call sitting there waiting for us. Away we went. We you know changed directions, refocused, and away we went on that other call. But that was the last that I was ever spoke to about that call. Nobody ever asked me anything about that call, or throughout the shift, nobody asked me if I was okay, if I needed to go home, or anything. So as you can probably imagine, there were first responders on scene that were actually, you know, getting sick, vomiting because of what they were seeing and watching, and that's
It's hard to explain to people that haven't shown up to a scene like that what goes through your mind, and I'm sure Jill can relate to this too. People ask all the time, "What is that feeling when you arrive?" And I often, in my world, in my own experience, I can't speak for anyone, you just go into kind of an autopilot mode, and you do the job you're trained to do, and you try not to look at the actual big picture, if you will. You're just dealing with the task you've been given. But that all comes to an end when the call shuts down, and then the reality of it starts to hit you. And unfortunately, this is when the employer is letting us down quite often and not giving us that time. And they're calling us to other calls. We're running off our feet, and we're not able to offload that baggage as much as we could right then and there. And I don't know, Jill, do you agree? Do you think that's how you're wired as well, or
Yeah, I mean, obviously you kind of just get like tuned right in if you're on a big call. Your skills kick in and you call. I'm on the peer support team in Elgin, so you know, I feel like I'm sort of Sean's sounding board sometimes. You know what I mean? He probably hasn't had a proper like debrief from management, but we usually check in on each other. And my other service, I work with two services. They're pretty good. They're actually pretty good with peer support. And
But you're
yeah,
talking peer support.
yeah,
I'm talking like the initial. We often
yeah,
hear our employers saying how much they look out for us and what they offer, and when the rubber
right.
hits the road, sometimes, and I'm
Yeah.
hearing it everywhere. I mean, I don't work geographically near you, and it's no different for me. And it doesn't
Well, you
matter
know,
if you're a year in. Yep, go ahead.
I always say like just through this campaign, I feel like we're doing like the government's work. We're doing the work of the government. We're doing the work of the employer that should be very well established in my opinion. You know,
I think I agree
and
100%.
yeah, and
But
here
I'm
we
also
are.
glad it's not the government. As much as I want them there, I want
Right.
them to then take you as your
Right.
skill set and you support you guys so that we can rely on you and you can focus on that aspect
Yeah,
as
you know,
well as looking after yourself.
I just think of the programs that are set up, like the private programs and treatment facilities that are set up across the province, and when you have people paying $80,000 to go to treatment for 8 weeks, it's like, and to be honest, they're not having any intensive therapy. It's a lot of like arts and crafts shit in these programs. It's a problem. So I think that trickles down to the employer, and we just get to a point where we have to look out for each other, and it's sad that it comes to that. I'm very grateful for my peers, because in that regard, I feel I can be very open and honest with them and truthful. It is getting better. Like, things are far from perfect, but it is getting better, and I do feel people peer to peer are a little more open to talk to each other about stuff. It's a little different than policing, just from what we've kind of gathered running the campaign for years, but it's getting better.
I relate
It's
it to our government and
yeah,
our constituents. Like quite
yeah,
often we'd rather run to our neighbor
right,
and go to our local politician. It's the same
yeah,
feeling where you're like, I know you say you've got this under control, but if I really
yeah,
want some shit done, we're going
yeah,
with these guys here. And kudos to you. You've done incredible work, and I'm sure, Jill, you have calls you could talk about all day long where you're like, you don't know how you're still sitting here
mhm,
chatting today, talking to me about it, that you're not doing another job.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
think the both of you have highlighted a very important issue for the need for the peer support and the need for your services out there. And this comes with some very eye opening information you gave me about the fact that you guys at I Got Your Back 911 created this to help us. And now you've received suicide letters and threats,
mhm.
or at least a cry for help from on more than one occasion, right, Sean? You said you've had how many of these letters delivered to your office or to you or to Jill?
Uh, well, I think the last count over the 7 years was 17 of them have been sent to us. And, when we got the first one sent to us, obviously, Jill and I were both working midnight or working nights that night. And they always seem to come in just after midnight thinking that we're not going to get them. And as soon as we got the first one, we called each other and we were just like, what the hell is this? Like, we didn't sign up for this. Like, this is not what we do. This is not like, what do we even do with this?
So
You know
what
what
do
I
you
mean?
think? What do you think? Why to you guys? What's the trust there? What's
Well,
the
I think I think one of the really strange things that happens with us, typically when you see stuff online, it's typically just for EMS, it's just for policing, it's just for corrections. What's really strange about our situation is the fact that we have every one of those professions in house. So everybody from those different professions support us, they follow us, which is very strange because you just typically don't see that. And that's exactly what we wanted to have happen. We didn't want to exclude anybody. And because all these different professions they need that help. They need that assistance. And we just wanted to make sure that everybody was included. And I think that's a certain amount of safety for people when they do follow us, when they do, chat with us, when they do send us messages. It could be 3 o'clock in the morning and you're going to get a message back from me and Jill. It's not customer service number 748. It's Jill and I that are answering those messages. And I think it's a place of safety, it's a place of comfort, and the fact that there is no judging, because we all know we live this every day, just like you do, Brad. And it's one of those things where it may sound very foreign to some people that is not a first responder, that doesn't have to see and do the things that we do. But for all of those people that do those things, it's very normal. So again, knowing that you're not alone, knowing that you are not the only one out there that's experiencing this, I think is vital to our followers and who follows us.
I think, and I'm going to let Jill comment on that shortly here. I think from my view, I'm not in your business. I don't have that extra layer of involvement with the mental health side yet. I'm getting there with a bit of a pod that we're doing now. But people trust you because they look to you as a legitimate resource that hasn't screwed them already in some other aspect of their career, their job, and you're real. And that's the peer support thing that Jill's talking about. So when you receive these letters, Jill, obviously they're heart wrenching. You reach out, and we're not trained in this. This isn't our job, as you said,
Right.
Sean. We're not taught how to intercept these, but once we get them, it's in our nature, especially as responders. As you've
Yeah.
shown, you've successfully intercepted these, correct? There's been some in there that like you've actually gotten involved and made sure that the negative outcome wasn't there. And that is so commendable. So what is your thought on is it there's a lack of an avenue out there that's steering them towards you, or just that I truly believe we trust you so much because you're one of us that we'd rather talk to you first.
I think so. I mean, I think we have that additional sort of trust factor because Sean and I, like, we're both still working mix on the road. Like, I just came off a night shift right now. Like, I think we're fairly accessible through social media. So people, when, like Sean said, when people write into us, like, we're responding to them, and I like to think we're a pretty good redirect. Like, we have a disclaimer on the website that says, like, listen, like, we are not like professional, like, therapists or counselors by any means, but we will do our best to redirect you to the resources that you might need, whether it's like calling 911 right away or trying to set them up with some sort of other organization or, like retreat or therapy, whatever. Like in the last, I'd say through the pandemic, I've probably referred about 7 people to a therapist that I happen to know. So I think we're good. We have access to a lot of resources, so I think that helps too. And it's not like it's not like people are looking sometimes to even like go to treatment or find a therapist. Sometimes it's just they really just want to shoot the shit with you. You know what I mean? I remember driving home from a night shift on Christmas once from up north. I ended up calling a guy from Florida, like random guy from Florida who, had done this horrific call involving his uncle. And like, he just had absolutely nobody to talk to. It's a little bit different in the US as well. Like, we think we're tapped for resources here, a whole nother ballgame in the US, So I think we kind of have that personal touch, like I think somewhat approachable. And like an open ear, as much as it can be quite draining on us as well. It's pretty much here for people.
But it's our job especially as medics, but as responders, to do exactly what you're doing. Someone
Yeah.
comes to you, and we're not necessarily a cardiac surgeon. We're not someone that can put in a thrombolytic to help resolve a stroke, but we are able to get you to where you need to go and help keep
Right.
you safe along the way. And that's an
Right.
extension of what you're doing. And kudos.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic story. It's an unfortunate story, but it's a real story that you're
Mhm.
receiving those types of documents, but it's just I wanted to highlight it. I really did, because I think you really need to be commended for that work and all the rest of the work you're doing. But it's a
Thank you.
heartwarming story. Now you're doing this, as you said, resources are stretched. Am I
Mhm.
wrong to say that you're telling me earlier today you were an extra 3 hours at work today, Jill, because there was no one there to
Yeah.
relieve you after a night
Yeah,
shift? Sean's
yeah.
been talking with me before, and we're all the same. Where do you often not eat on shift, or you're eating on the run, and you don't have the resources in this area are so thin in our first world high-end healthcare system. It's just such a shame. And I know that everyone is appreciative that they have at least the pride to wear a hoodie, the pride to know that they're not only buying a hoodie, but they're kind of giving back to each other. And I know that the public, I'm going to call them the public, the non-responders, want to know how to give as well as getting some of that sweet clothing and decals. And I think it's really good. Now there's also this. Are you guys selling this on your webpage, or what's going on? Is
That's a
that is
whole
that one of you? Is that one of
no,
you there? No? Is that another colleague, or
no,
That- That's
no, I don't think
somebody that follows us.
that's
that
incredible.
wasn't yeah, that wasn't Andy LaBelle. There's a c there's a couple people who like, random people who have gotten tattooed. I have a friend or 2 that has also, gotten a tattoo.
It's just showing. I mean, I think we all have ink on this panel. It's just part of it. It's common in our world, but that just shows to me that you're more than a business. You're a brother and sisterhood now of they want to be part of it, and they want to be part of it permanently, and that's the way to show. So I
Right.
just can't. I have to ask you both though individually, what's your outlet? You're so busy. You're so constantly involved. You're sleep deprived. You're doing your own shifts. Jill, you have 2 jobs, a business, a dog, an apartment. Sean, you're in the middle of a move, you told me. You've got the business, you've got your job. Um, like, what is your out? Just curious. How do you release that, offload that mental baggage that you take with you every day, Sean?
Well, personally, I like to go get my mental checkup. That's what I call it anyway. Every 3 months, whether I think I need it or not, I go in and I sit down with a therapist. Sometimes I go in there and I go, you know what? Yeah, I don't even need to be here today. And by the time the session is done after an hour, I'm like, well, I don't know where you got all that from what we just talked about. I think your support staff at home is incredibly vital to your success and your longevity in this career for sure. I'm absolutely blessed to have my partner being incredibly understanding. She knows what I do. She knows me inside and out, and I think that's vital. The rest of my family, my parents, my brother, very close as well. And you know what? To be honest with you, I think I'm very fortunate. I got Jill too, and we talk multiple times a day. We
You're gonna make
bounce
me
stuff.
cry.
Um, and I think again, we're humbled every day with the amount of support that we get, and the fact that people all over the world will send us messages. We just got a message from somebody in Australia this morning, just asking how much it was to send a package to Australia, and so that's my outlet. Obviously, a lot of us will go to the gym and try to work off some of that, frustration and stuff at the gym as well. But I got some pretty good sounding boards. I got some pretty good support, and that's kind of how I deal with it.
Great. Very good. And I think that coincides with Jill just saying people need to talk sometimes. They just need to let it off. It doesn't mean that they're getting answers. They just need to release that. And Jill, do you have any kind of mechanisms of
Um,
your own? How do you
yeah, like,
do you ever unwind? Do you ever
I
stop?
mean, yeah, like, I'm a self-proclaimed alcoholic, and, that I get it. It's a trauma response, like, I'm very, very aware of that. Pre-pandemic, I actually DJ, and I throw
Oh,
parties in Toronto. So,
wow.
yeah. So I've been
Very
doing
cool.
that for, like, 15 years. Yeah.
Less
Um,
sleep, even less
yeah,
sleep.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's wild. I don't sleep too
Yeah.
much, but, um, yeah, I like to go to the gym. I play in a soccer league. I play in a basketball league, but all that's kind of been put on hold, obviously, because of the pandemic. So I'm not gonna lie, like the end of 2020 into 2021, I've had some calls that have absolutely kicked my ass, like mentally, just a back to back, like really traumatic stuff. So I mean, it's nice that things are opening up a little bit again, so I can kind of go and get some relief. But yeah, I'm always calling Sean. Like we're pretty good for each other for the most part. Like we're always just chopping it up all the time. Just like he's
You hear
basically
a
my
lot of
business. Yeah.
business partnerships that are basically they think they get along well, that there's some kind of deeper relate, but this is unbelievable connection that you're able to have as not only a business partner and successful, but you're also a sounding board professionally. It's just it's fantastic to see, and I'm not surprised you've done as well as you have. It's not just because of the huge demand on that we all have that we're all looking for some more. It's the quality of the product, and I'm going to call product the actual giving back that you guys provide. And um, I can't say it enough that I hope everyone reaches out to your site. I hope that they can get on there. Your merch spans from. I'm going to go back to the merch because I just love it. Like we've got animal stuff, we've got pup stuff, we've got. It's just I love it. I think that the more we can get out there, this is unbelievable. Is that a hoodie?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
Unbelievable. On a is that a Frenchie or
Yeah.
some yeah, so and I know a lot of us responders are pet people, pet driven. I know a big outlet for me is my dog, and by that I mean that's why I get out and walk and think and basically tell her stuff that she has no idea what I'm talking about, and it's very therapeutic. But I know um, your word's getting out. There's this one here. Where was this? This is a hockey rink, and there's a
Yeah.
whole slew of
yeah.
Bristol boards forming your hashtag, and that's got to
Chat
feel
on it.
amazing.
Oh, that was in Sarnia, Jill.
Yeah.
That was that hockey game in Sarnia that we were at, where we did a pop up store, and basically they dedicated the night to our campaign, and there was a whole bunch of people behind the glass that decided to use Bristol board and put that up. So that was pretty cool for us to see that. Like I said, Brad, you know what? Like we're humbled every day with the support and the different things that come into us. That people would just drop stuff off to a retail store, and they've made something, created a sign. It's we just had Jill's dog. Somebody just painted a picture of Jill's dog. Then Honey's always at our store, and it's all the time. It's
Amazing,
craziness.
and it's well deserved. This doesn't happen to just average people. If it's well deserved, the recognition comes, and you've definitely earned that. And you got a heartwarming story. You guys are affiliated with various agencies. Your
Mhm.
website is loaded with a a massive resources for us responders to connect with if we need to reach out. And I encourage everyone to get to your website to have a look.
Yeah.
But one of them that you've paired up with recently is the Phoenix Canine Initiative. And this, if I'm not mistaken, is a therapy dog center, a therapy dog training center. Is it? They're doing the training through Phoenix, or they're at
Yeah.
least acquiring these therapy dogs, and they're helping. You're going in a bit of a partnership with them as well to help hook up responders with therapy dogs, and that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Julie, you have a good
So
story from this morning.
yeah, I mean the partnership with Phoenix Canine, that's kind of twofold. They do therapy dogs. They also train service dogs, like basically like medical devices for first responders. So yeah, we've worked with Sarah and Brad for a few years now, through just various forms. And recently, I guess in the last year, Sean, I think we've set up basically our own service dog program. You can apply on our website. We have a service dog application on there. And how it kind of works is we do fundraising, we purchase the dog for the breeder, um, and then Sarah and Brett will train the dog. So we kind of select an applicant, vet them, and then present them with a dog that is basically entirely paid for from start to finish by all of our fundraising initiatives.
That's incredible.
Yeah, the
Incredible.
good news today is there's a medic. It's his birthday. His name's Neil, so happy birthday, Neil. We just approved some funding and training for a service dog for him today. So
Oh,
Sarah let him know. There, everyone's like kind of chopping
kudos to
onions.
you guys. This is huge. This
Yeah,
isn't just like these are life-changing things that we're talking about. We're talking about the suicide notes. We're talking about people being able to reach out to you and just talk off the record. And now you're into the therapy dog. Like that person's life will never be the same. And I'm so flattered that you guys would want to come on with me here and share your message and partner up, because I that's part of the vision of this pod is to get our message out, the real message, the real stories,
right.
to let us know we need to support each other and get a voice out there. You're also um, soon to be pairing up with a CFL franchise locally for Sean. It's the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Is that right?
CFL team in Hamilton, Ticats. So they're running a program that they've been so kind to include us in, and it's called Hometown Heroes. And basically, it's an appreciation to frontline workers and first responders. And again, they've been so gracious to us and included us into this. So you can actually go online. We've got links and stuff on our social media and our website and stuff, as well as theirs. But you can literally go on. You can buy a package depending on where you want to sit. So you get your ticket for your seat. You get a T-shirt that has the Hometown Heroes Ticats logo on the front and our hashtag on the back. And you also get to in that package you make a donation to our charitable fund, which will then be kicked right back out to support service dogs and pay for the dogs and all of the training so that we can again just keep giving dogs to different first responders that are in dire need for that assistance.
Unbelievable. I'm so happy to hear that they've reached out to you and that I don't blame them. I think they're the lucky ones here to have you jump on board and spread the message even more. I can't believe the reach of your services. It's just incredible. Originally, naive me years ago, you see that, you think, oh, someone has a bumper sticker. Oh, isn't that that's a cool little slogan? And you don't think much more of it. And the more you dig, the more you guys are truly doing amazing things. And I thank you on behalf of all of us out there for what you're doing, and that you're doing it while you're doing what I'm doing, while you're doing your family stuff. You're doing your multiple jobs, and I I really hope people start reaching out even more through this. They're going to see this, and we're going to share this, and we're going to get the message out even more. Um, I know you're busy now, but I'm not afraid to keep getting you busier and busier. And I'm going to be promoting you every time. Everyone can see now why on this pod I needed to be talking about not only our mental health aspect as responders, but I need to give a way that people can reach out. It's nice to deliver the message. So from now on, hashtag I've got your back or I've got your back 911.com will be part of this show. And it's a pleasure. And I hope they're not afraid to dig in a bit, buy some stuff as well. I mean, it's some really good stuff.
We
Um,
appreciate you
and
bringing it too.
the
Like that's
pleasure's all mine. It is. It's a great partnership.
it's one of those things we use that word a lot, that we're humbled, but it's the only word that we can really think of. And the amount of support that we give, we do our best. But when it comes right down to it, Jill and I are paramedics. That's what we do. We're lucky enough to be able to have the support of everybody that follows us, so that we can do more. But if it wasn't for all of them, we wouldn't be able to be doing what we're doing right now. So
That mirrors exactly what I'm doing now. Someone reached out to me to deliver this. A very admirable person, Dean Blundell. His message is great. He's always for the greater good of moving forward with whatever topic. And when he reached out to me as a responder and offered his network to get this message out there, it's the same thing. I'm humbled, and I think together that's how we work in our industry. We're always humbled. If you're arrogant in our business, if you're arrogant in our world, you're not going to go very far and you're not going to do very well. And you're not in it for anything other than the sheer desire to want to do it. And I'm going to slowly, I could talk to you guys forever. And I know we're not done. We're having you back. We've already discussed this. We're going to talk about maybe showing some of your merch and maybe having some more lighthearted fun, kind of just a ripper of a pod of maybe just funny stuff that's gone on. And
Yeah.
the audience is going to see a lot more of you. Now,
We could rip
as
it.
soon as I can nail you guys down. It
Yeah.
was very I'm very fortunate to even get you here today between shifts and my shifts. But I ask all my guests the same thing, and I ask the same questions. So for each of you, this podcast is meant to be a fly on the wall of our world, offload delay, right? So we're sitting in that crew room, we're talking, and all the responders are there, the families are there, and we're just kind of shooting shit about other stuff, real world stuff. If you could be a fly on the wall anywhere, Sean, we'll start with you. If you could be, where are you going? Who are you listening to? What drives you? What interests would you want to have in in listening in on?
Wow. I guess right off the top of my head, you know what? I would love to be able to go back. Hockey has always been part of my life. I love the game. I used to play it. I don't anymore. And I'd love to go back and to the Edmonton Oiler days where Gretzky and the whole crew. I'd love to just go back, and I'd love to be in that dressing room and seeing that, and everything that they had to go through to win those cups, everything, all the disappointments they had to go through in order to be able to win those cups. But just to be able to be on the inside of that, that would be pretty cool.
I agree. That'd be amazing. Actually, good answer. I like that. And Jill, you had a little heads up, so you get the next question first. But what would your fly on the wall be? Your setting.
Yeah, I'd like to. I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan, so I would have loved to have kind of been around during that era where the Bulls were just absolutely dominating. And just he's an absolute weapon. He's like a perfectionist, workaholic, kind of like myself. So I feel like we have a little bit in common, except he's
The
probably
Netflix special gave
better
us a little view.
basketball player than me. But
Yeah.
I would like to kind of pick his brain a little bit, and I feel we share some of the same kind of attributes.
Oh yeah, you're driven. I would never say you're not a driven person, and he was
Yeah.
too. So good answer.
Yeah.
Now, Jill, I'm gonna go with this one. An outlet for a lot of us is the food, the comfort food when we get home. We kind of
Yeah.
have that special thing. But if you could eat one food the rest of your life, what's it going to be? One food. That's it.
Can we too?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like a running joke with the campaign about like me and hot Cheetos. But
Okay.
I love hot Cheetos, but probably a poutine.
Poutine. Good. Hey, yeah, nice. And Sean, what are you digging into?
It's got to be steak with a blue cheese topper.
Nice. So you're homemade style, or going and having someone serve it to you?
Absolutely.
Good for you. All right. One of the things people don't realize is, and I often say in my world, my thought, the worst thing isn't about my job isn't what I see, it's what I smell. The visuals are bad. They can be bad, but honestly, the smells are part of the worst. So, Sean, work or not, what's the smelliest place you've ever been involved with?
You know what? Like my current partner, Jason Bott, will probably appreciate this because we were just on a call in the summertime, and it was a hoarder house, and yeah, it was. It's the first time that I've ever seen J Bod actually, do the gut wrenching one of those. There was used Depends all over the floor, and we literally had to cut some off this patient and fell on the floor. And that was probably one of the worst houses that I've ever been in. And the stench from that was just,
people don't realize how
absolutely
common that is too. Like these,
I know, absolutely.
we can't even say hoarding officially in our workplace anymore. I don't know about you. I have to say heavy content because apparently that's offensive. But on this podcast, it's absolutely hoarding.
Right,
And
absolutely.
I wish I could be have a body cam on me when I'm working, and I wish I could have a scent gatherer because there's no describing this stuff. I'm telling you, the average person has no idea what we deal with, and then usually you're stuck with it for days. You think you can
Well,
get rid of it, and it'll linger.
I think the only thing good about the pandemic and having to wear masks all the time is the fact that it does filter out some of that. So if there's
It
anything
does.
positive about to wear a mask or a
Yeah,
respirator, that's really it.
and I haven't eaten garlic in my lunch since the mask came on because you're really careful now what you eat when you're wearing that thing all day long.
Absolutely.
So, Jill,
Correct.
any bad smells? Smelliest place you've ever been? Is it work
Uh,
related or not?
yeah,
Yeah.
like this is a little not
Oh,
nice, but like any I did a really really bad burn call like a little while ago. It's that that's a smell that you can you're a medic, Brad. You're a firefighter,
yeah.
right? Like you know what that's like. So yeah, human flesh burning basically is like probably the worst thing I've ever smelled. It's it's hard to forget. It sticks with you for a long time. So
And that's the
yeah.
problem, and that's why I brought up the smell. And I agree, it's a horrific. And some people may have smelt if they burnt their finger on a stove or whatever. But when you get the volumes, right,
Yeah.
the larger burns,
Yeah.
it infiltrates every pore that we have, and it's hard to shake it. But I find a lot of our memories are triggered more by those smells than what we've seen or heard, and those smells are horrible at bringing up bad calls.
Hmm.
As soon as you smell something similar, like even a burnt piece of steak, if Sean wasn't the one cooking it, somebody else, it'll bring you back. So oh no, if you weren't cooking it, yeah, that would be it.
He's pretty
But
good cook.
I would never ever second guess anything you guys are doing because you're such you're real go getters. You're hard workers. You're doing a fantastic job, and I'm gonna end it here. This is I could talk to you guys for hours, and if you have anything you'd like to say before we go, uh, have at her. If you'd like people just to kind of tune into your webpage and have at least a look at your mission statements and your objectives and that, I think there's a lot to be learned there.
Mhm.
But we are going to be seeing a lot more of you. So
Awesome.
thank you.
Yeah. And you know
Yeah.
what, again, Brad, we just want to thank you for bringing us on and, obviously trying to spread our message and what we currently do and how we can expand that in, so many different ways as well. But, again, we appreciate all that you're doing as well and the podcast and hopefully this gets out to an awful lot of people.
This
Mhm.
makes it worthwhile to be able to deliver everyone's message like this, especially yours. It really does make it worthwhile. And I hope the Christmas orders aren't overwhelming. I hope listening get their orders in soon, and that you guys
They
are,
can be
are keeping up.
overwhelming, but they just need to be patient.
There you go. Yeah, isn't that like everything we do at work? Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
always
we
overwhelming, but they're impatient.
world now, right? We don't
Yeah.
have prime.
Very good. Well, thank you guys again, Jill. Any final thoughts here?
I mean, just we appreciate everyone's support. Just from the very beginning, I think Sean and I said, if we this might sound a little bit cheesy or whatever, but if we can help just one person, then we've done our job. And sure, like the merch is awesome. The merch is great. But I like to think there's a little deeper meaning behind it. And it's kind of sort of like gelled together a community. You know what I mean? So
Well done, you guys. Very well done. I look forward to chatting with you again. I'm going to kind of click you out here.
Cool.
I encourage everyone to get back on your your site. That's your hashtag, and then we also have your webpage there. I've got your back911.com, and it's a really nice site. Flows well, lots of merch pictures on it, lots of great resources. There's a helpline on there, an immediate helpline, and as we didn't even touch on that per se, but it's a peer review, peer driven phone line. So as
mm,
Sean was alluding to earlier with me when we were talking, it you don't have to explain your job before you explain you need to offload something. And you've
Correct.
set up that well on the website. And I can't wait. We're gonna be. I'm gonna even end the show by thanking you like I normally do, like you weren't on the show. So we're gonna zoom you guys out. Be in touch. Keep in touch. Amazing work. Get some sleep, Jill. Get some sleep.
Yeah.
Sean's on his second day off now, so I'm sure he's just over the top,
Yeah.
over-rested. We're never
Yeah.
over-rested, we know that, but take
Right.
care, be safe, you guys.
Thank you.
Really appreciate everything, and we'll be in touch.
Cool. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it.
Wow. What a series of guests. What a partnership. This is gonna be fantastic, and it's gonna lead me into the closure here. I think a lot has been said, and there's very little left to say about it, but honestly, hashtag I've got your back 911. Thank you. Thank you for partnering up. Thank you for doing what you do. You guys are just a gem, just a hoot to talk to as well. We're going to have a lot of fun with you guys, and we're going to get some serious stuff done as well. Also, Dean Blundell and the deanblundell.com network. Couldn't do this without you. Your support is immeasurable. You can check us out there. You can watch the pod on there. You can also end up going on to Amazon, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music for the audios of these pods, the visuals, the actual show with the pictures and everything. I suggest YouTube. YouTube, the channel there is Offload Delay. We also have our socials with Instagram and Twitter. And follow along a little lesser so on my Facebook. It's a little lesser used, but if you need to reach out, my email for the show, offload.delay14@gmail.com. Any show ideas, any thoughts, any questions, anything you want to reach out, that's the best way to get a hold of us. Thanks again, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to be seeing a lot more Got Your Back 911 merch. We're going to try and get them back in here. We're going to change this around a bit. We're going to get them showing here all the time. Be safe, everyone. Go support those guys and support those first responders and anyone around you that's just needing a little bit of extra help today. Have a good one.